I just downloaded the Greyhound Bus app and it doesn't work.
Wah, wah.
Welcome to Blind Abilities. I'm Jeff Thompson. And today we're talking to the Public Relations Director for the National Federation of the Blind, Chris Danielsen. Chris, how you doing?
I'm doing great, Jeff. How are you?
I'm doing great, Chris. And I want to thank you from our listeners and myself for you taking the time to come on the Blind Abilities and talk about this new suit filed out in California regarding the Greyhound Bus website and their application for smartphones not being accessible. Can you tell our listeners more about this, Chris?
Yes, Jeff. The National Federation of the Blind has actually just filed suit against Greyhound Lines. We filed suit in California, and there are also 4 or 5 actually individual Californians who are also named in the suit who have tried to use the Greyhound app or have been deterred from using it. And we've specifically filed suit because neither the website or the app is accessible if you are using any kind of screen reader technology. So this is obviously of grave concern, and we've taken the step even of including the app, allegations about the app itself in the lawsuit, which is going to be interesting to see how that works, because not many ADA lawsuits have been filed specifically about mobile apps. But we're actually going to go after Greyhound for the design of its app as well as the design of its website, because neither of them can be used by the blind. Now, Greyhound does have a phone reservation system you can call, but you are charged a quote-unquote convenience fee for doing that.
Yeah, I've experienced calling a company because I didn't have access to the web and then they want to charge a fee. Typically, they waive the fee, but actually that does not fix the problem for the future. Whereas Ms. Thomas self-advocated. She went forward with this and brought it to a level where it has a potential of benefiting so many other people.
Right. So you've got one of these situations where Greyhound has been told, and Ms. Thomas isn't the only person, Tino Thomas, who's one of our plaintiffs, Greyhound has been told by multiple people multiple times that neither their website or app is accessible. They have gone ahead and charged these convenience fees. Again, it's their convenience, not the convenience of the user. And then not improved either the website or the app. And of course, the ironic and frustrating thing is that as blind people who do not drive currently, we need services like Greyhound. It's not always practical, particularly if you don't have the income to take a flight or even to take a train. And Greyhound is an affordable option for a lot of people. But of course, it's less useful if you cannot access it in the way that other people access it. And it's just fundamentally unfair for Greyhound to, in effect, make us pay them to discriminate against us.
Exactly. I mean, when you're talking about the ADA, and I remember there was a Target suit a while back that was based on the inaccessibility of the website from a brick and mortar store or from the internet. And now when you say you're including the app, that is interesting.
Well, the reality is that all of us are increasingly doing business through mobile apps. I mean, think about, I know I do more, except when I'm sitting here at my desktop at work, I do more with my phone than I do with my computer, as I'm just out and about experiencing my daily life. If there is an app to do something that I normally use the web for and I can use it, I like to download the app and use that. The whole process is simpler and you get it done on your phone. But that's not possible with Greyhound. And we're definitely seeing this shift to apps and companies promoting their apps, as well as more people just using the apps because of the proliferation of smartphones.
Yeah, I mean, when I go onto the Amazon.com website with my mobile phone, it defaults me right to my app that I have on my phone. The apps are the new internet.
Right, exactly. I mean, it will try to open the app, or it will encourage you to download the app and use the app instead. So, I mean, this is the way that people are accessing the internet now.
Mm-hmm. I went on my Safari browser and I could not actually comfortably navigate the Greyhound Bus website.
Yeah, that's frustrating. I trust the research that we've done as the National Federation of the Blind and the experiences of these plaintiffs. And it's just not possible to use. And ironically, it once was. Michael Hingson, one of our plaintiffs, who's, of course, some of your listeners will be familiar with him. He's a best-selling author, the author of the book Thunderdog. Mike actually used to use the Greyhound website because he's a public speaker, and that's his business, that's his livelihood. And he was once able to use the Greyhound site and now cannot.
Yeah. The tenacity for someone to follow through, Miss Thomas, Tino Thomas, to follow through. So did she just get upset and just contact you?
Well, she's frustrated.
Yeah.
She's frustrated, absolutely, because she travels in Los Angeles. She has relatives in Las Vegas and in other places. She's an athlete, so she attends all kinds of athletic events, judo events, and different things. She needs to travel a lot, and obviously she's trying to do that in an economic way. So she's had, all of these experiences trying to book on Greyhound, and she's frustrated with it. And we are interested, by the way, in hearing from more people who have had these experiences. We'll be putting out information on how people can get in touch. I guess in the meantime, people can get in touch with me, C. Danielsen at nfb.org. Danielsen is Danielsen. So C. Danielsen at nfb.org. I'll pass the information along, and we will be putting out more information about how people can get in touch. Obviously, they can reach the National Federation of the Blind through all of our social media channels and so forth as well.
Now, I see that if the court decides to bring it to a class action, when will we find out more about that?
So the court has to have a hearing on class action status. And the purpose of the hearing is to determine whether the National Federation and the plaintiffs can fairly represent the interests of the class. So, in other words, what's happening in a class action is that we, as the National Federation of the Blind, and these 5 individuals are standing in for all other blind people. I mean, this happens in litigation all the time, but the court has to determine that that the National Federation of the Blind, in particular, is the right entity to stand in for blind people in this context, and that the plaintiffs also are all sort of representative of the kind of people that this lawsuit is intended to reach.
Well, I think you got a great cross section with Flores, Richardson, Hensing, and Thomas, and there's one more.
Right, there's Hingson, Thomas, Richie Flores. And I think that actually there are a couple of others. So, yeah, we definitely have a few folks that we're working with.
Well, I really hope that they do see that it's a class action, because I think you got a great representation of the blind. And with the NFB involvement, I think that all the blind across the states will benefit from their involvement. And Chris, the inclusion of the Greyhound Bus application into the suit really makes it interesting.
Absolutely. I mean, we're all using apps more and more, and using alternative ways of accessing all of these internet-based services, especially apps. Maybe someday in the future, we'll all just be accessing everything through Alexa or some similar service, and this won't be an issue. But right now it is an issue. So
Yeah. I wish a great outcome for the plaintiffs, because this could set a precedent that we all benefit from.
Yeah, absolutely. And we don't know what Greyhound is going to say about this yet. They may try to say that the ADA doesn't apply, or they may try to claim that their site is accessible. Which, is kind of belied by the fact that so many people have had trouble using it. we don't know what they're going to do. Or it may very quickly move to a case, to a situation where they want to say, okay, clearly there's a problem here. We want to try to resolve this, because that does sometimes happen.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm really glad that you are involved, and I think everybody across the states, all the blind people across the states, will benefit through having accessibility.
Well, that's what we do. I mean, that is really what we try to do. The National Federation of the Blind, I know that we sometimes have our disagreements with other organizations and so forth. What we always try to do is represent the interests of all blind Americans. And that's what we're really trying to do. Every blind American, whether you're a member of the National Federation of the Blind or not, may have a need to use the transportation, the economical transportation that Greyhound provides. And so, if we're successful in this lawsuit, either in winning it or settling it, we will have solved the problem for thousands, millions of blind people.
Well, Chris, I want to thank you, and from our listeners too, for taking time out of your day to share with us the importance of the companies abiding by the ADA and, the advocacy that Tino Thomas took to make sure that this will not be a problem for people in the future, and that hopefully that Greyhound bus will one day be accessible again. So thank you very much, Chris.
Well, you're most welcome. And don't forget, we are a nationwide organization. So those who are interested in what we're doing can find chapters of the National Federation of the Blind in their local communities. They can contact us here, and we can help them find that information. Get involved and let us know what problems you're experiencing so that we can make an effort to help solve those problems that are common to all blind people.
Good deal. Thanks a lot for coming on, Chris.
Thanks for having us, Jeff. Always a pleasure.
It is always a pleasure to talk to Chris Danielsen. So if you have any trouble with the Greyhound app or their website, give them a buzz. Check them out on nfb.org and let them know. So once again, thanks for listening, and until next time, bye-bye.
When we share
what we see through
each other's eyes, we can then begin to bridge the gap between
the limited expectations
and the
reality of blind abilities.
The realities of blind abilities.
For more podcasts with a blindness perspective, check us out on the web at www.blindabilities.com, on Twitter at blindabilities. Download our app from the App Store, blindabilities, that's 2 words, or send us an email at info@blindabilities.com. Thanks for listening.